call it a study session.
You're on
Very much so. Really gotta
Oh, but you were on it. No, you were right. So, thank you. All right, I'll call the meeting of Tuesday, July 16, 2019 at 7:16 p.m. Can I have a moment of silence for all those serving inside and outside our borders, please? All right, will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mary, can we have roll call, please?
Mayor Adrian Sandoval,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Larry Clark,
Here.
Harold Leggett,
Present.
Nick Ralston, Spencer Bradnan,
Here.
Troy Blum,
Here.
Hope Morris.
Here. Okay. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Audience participation. I have Jason Hansen. Will you please step up to the podium and state your name and address?
Address? Okay. Hi, my name is Jason Hansen. I live on 508 Melody Lane.
Hello.
So I'm just here to update on what I'm doing with the fundraising for the dog park. I've got a total of 9 private donations and 4 donations from businesses and clubs. So which will all equal about $1,600. I plan on ending the fundraising on the 28th of this month. So
Do you have what you need, or do you need more?
just a little
How
bit,
much more do you need?
about another $1,500 for the second tier that I'm working towards, which is about $3,000. So
And then what was your big goal, shoot for the moon goal amount?
that was 12,000.
12,000. Okay.
But so
Fill the park goal, right?
yeah. I'm also here to ask for money from the town and see if you guys are willing to spare any money to help me do anything.
Okay. Yeah.
How much, do you have any money in some funds that we can put over towards that to help them out?
We still have some funds in our donation budget. The board has a discretion to use. Typically, for school, like after prom and so forth, typically $150 to $200 what the board authorizes. So we share it amongst all the requests throughout the year.
Is there another fund we can take this out of, maybe give some more?
Take out the mayor's budget.
Well, some sort of parks fund,
The parks fund is for maintenance. There's really not a lot other than operations. we have, a park impact fund, which doesn't have a whole lot, but there's probably around 10,000 in that fund, and it's restricted. They can go toward new park amenities, which would be a consideration.
We just took 1,500 on that.
If you could work on that, Troy, and maybe bring that up for the next meeting.
I can-
That will be after the 28th though, Jason, the next
Do you
meeting.
accept money after your due date?
We're, the 28th was kind of the reason, because the boys just get back from their scout camp about that time, trying to go on a 29-mile hike if the weather would stop putting snow in the mountains. But that's about the time that we get back, and then he just needs time before. Well, actually, he can do some of it when we're turning around and going on vacation shortly after that. So he just needs time to order it and then get the stuff, because when do you want to put it in?
I'm gonna put it in on the 31st of August.
So that being the goal, trying to get it in before that. So in other words, yes, there's some time.
Okay, our first meeting would be August 6th.
August 6th, we have a draft resolution for $1,500 for donation to the dog park enhancement project under Jason Hanson. That work?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions for you later. What kind of material are you talking about? What types of material?
I'm just mostly getting it from a website, so I don't entirely know the material.
It's made out of, well, what's it made out of?
It's made out of mostly metal, but I can grab a pole.
And if I'm not mistaken, I saw something previously, probably on Nextdoor, about looking for some help for the assembly. Was that, my memory serving me correctly, or?
Do you need help, Jason?
Yeah, I might need help setting everything up and getting everything put in, so need some help there too, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from Mr. Hanson?
Good job.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, good job.
Okay, anybody else before the board? All right, moving on, I'd entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the July 2nd regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, the June financials, and the June paid bills.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Action items. We're gonna move on to the public hearing and the resolution. So at this moment, I'm going to, recess our regular meeting at 7:23 and open the public hearing. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, Mayor. Part of this meeting, the Plan Commission heard a presentation from Melissa Kendrick, Town Planner, as well as representatives from the Reliance Oilfield Services on the conditional review use. I'm going to turn over to Melissa to present those findings of the Plan Commission and discuss the project report.
All right, good evening. This project is located at 531 Energy Park Drive, and the request is for a concrete bunker barricade to encapsulate and store explosives materials. It is for Reliance Oilfield Services, and their representative Lincoln Volkers is here, and it's available when I'm done to answer any questions that you might have. So the property is platted. The configuration on the site plan that is part of your backup materials. It is also zoned for industrial, so it's part of the Platteville Energy Park and an industrial park in the town, as you well know. And in our industrial zoning, explosives bunkers as part of the oilfield services is a conditional review use. So it's an activity that we contemplated with that zoning, but the conditional review use gives us an opportunity through this public hearing process to evaluate, is this the right location, and are there any mitigation measures that might be useful in placing it there. that's why we're here tonight, is for this CRU permit. There are several criteria that you need to consider, as you read in your staff report, in contemplating a use like this. And I'll summarize some of those. The most important one, well, I don't know if it's most important, but an important one is the zoning, which I just described to you. So they are allowed through the CRU in this industrial zone, so that's important. It's also important that is it compatible in this area, and as an industrial park, we believe that it is. This is typical, as you know, there are lots of other oil field services operations in the Platteville Energy Park. Another consideration really has to do with maybe the environmental impact. And the probably most important thing here is that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, I always have to read that because it's gotten older over time, but they are the ones who regulate this type of use. So we depend heavily on those regulations and their compliance with them in our evaluation and permitting for these bunkers. So they do have, as you can see, and it was presented earlier, but they do have the permits that are necessary in order to store these explosives. So, yeah, you know, this isn't a use that uses utilities, so there's no water and sewer, and their employees are the ones who operate or use, access the explosives. So there's no additional traffic impact on the site. So based upon that, we are recommending this favorably to you. The Planning Commission did hear it earlier. They made a rather extensive presentation that we weren't going to repeat now, but it is available if you all have questions of them. They're available for questions tonight and can present some of those materials if we need them. But based upon the findings in the staff report and the attached resolution, we're recommending this favorably with the 4 conditions of approval. My staff report has 3, but the resolution is more correct. The last one that was added really is any minor modifications that might be needed. So again, they need to comply with the state and federal regulations. The bunkers need to be where they're shown on the site plan, which was attached for your review. And they are required to have the permit in place in order to operate bunker. So with that, I'm available for questions. So is the applicant, if you have any.
I have a question. On page 11 of this presentation, the proposed flat plan, it says that it's not been submitted to ATF, the state of Colorado, or the Platteville Fire Marshal. Is there an update on any of that?
Good question.
That is a good question, and thank you for asking that. I put that in there and did not address it in the previous meeting. The reason that that has not been submitted to or put through to the ATF, state of Colorado, or the Platteville Fire Marshal is because we wanted to garner the approval from this board before deciding to move forward in construction. We want to be in compliance with Platteville's requirements, and so we haven't made any notification to anybody. Once we get approval for this, our first order of business will be to make notification to them, wait for the 3 days, and then begin construction.
And can the board be assured that they'll be notified of such submittals to the ATF, state fire marshal?
Yes, sir. I don't look good in orange. And it is federal law that we're required to make notification to the ATF, the state of Colorado, and the fire marshal as a condition of our permit.
I understand, and I have no doubt that you'll comply with all of that. I think that the board would like to have notification that all of those have been done.
Oh, I understand. Absolutely. We can absolutely comply with that.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, not a problem.
That's all I'm asking.
Sure.
I don't look good in orange either. I don't like the food there either.
Yeah.
Mr. Walkers, I didn't bring it up in our previous meeting, but what kind of security measures do you have for the the explosive when they're besides just behind those barriers? Is there like gate cameras and stuff like that around each bunker that you have to make sure that somebody's not jumping the fence and obtaining those and trying to get into that?
Yes, sir. So we have a gate on the property that is automatically, or not automatically, it requires a code. It automatically opens, automatically. Once you put the code in, it opens and it automatically closes. The ATF very specifically requires certain locks and certain shackle thicknesses on the locks to ensure that they're difficult to cut. And then the way that these magazines are configured, and I would invite any one of you who want to learn more about this to come see us at Platteville. We would be happy to show you guys how we store what we do. But there's a hood over the top of the locks that makes it virtually impossible for somebody to get up in there and cut those locks with a simple pair of bolt cutters. They're actually going to have to be intent on stealing explosives. If somebody goes through the trouble to do that, we've got a far larger problem than somebody stealing explosives.
Okay.
Right? So I think that would probably be a matter for you. But yes, we do, and we have cameras that are recording 24 hours a day. It is the site is monitored. You know, both we have crews coming in and out of there all of the time. So the security is very high.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Bolters?
Is that a 24-hour operation within you?
Yes, sir, it is.
So that-
Now, we don't have people necessarily at the shop for 24 hours, but there are crews that move in and out of that shop over 24-hour periods.
And the explosives are transported in these vehicles as depicted on front of this presentation, or no?
No, sir. That is the vehicle that they park at the well site to actually shoot the explosives down in the well.
Okay.
The guns, if you will, the perforating guns, are actually transported on flatbed trailers.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else? Anything for staff?
If I may add, this will be the third such application in the last 5 years roughly. The first was just down the street was Slumberjay. They were the first explosive bunker for the same purposes essentially that went in. I did inspect that one, and then KLX on County 38. Ironically, I think all three bunkers are a little different as far as how they're built, but they all serve the same purpose. So,
And they all meet the same requirements.
and they all meet the same ATF fire district requirement.
Ours actually exceed.
Yeah, ours is actually a foot thicker than what the ATF requires. ATF requires 3 feet, and with the 2 blocks at 2 foot apiece, we actually have 4 feet of solid concrete between outside and where the magazines sit.
So the poured in place concrete blocks that are transported in?
Yeah, and then we actually stack them up and construct them. So they're interlocking blocks. Yep.
What sort of improvements did you negotiate here?
I'm sorry?
What sort of improvements did you negotiate here?
No improvements on this. The site was initially built, they started leasing it last summer.
Yes.
And the developer did a really nice job with the site plan. They took over the lease, and then they just added this one function to that site. So it's a well-maintained site up there.
Anything else?
Where
Thank
did you
you.
get it, Harold?
Thank you, Mr. Potter.
You've already shelled out.
Okay, anything
Didn't
from
ask
the
for
public?
my whole golf course.
No, just donations for the golf tournament.
Got you covered there.
Okay. So I will close the public hearing at 7:34, and I will entertain and reconvene the regular meeting and entertain a motion,
I
please.
make a motion to approve resolution 2019-26, a resolution approving a conditional review use to construct a non-permanent concrete bunker and barricades for storing explosives at 531 N Park Drive.
Second.
I have a motion and several seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Moving forward, public hearing of the Platteville Liquor License Authority to consider a special event permit for an event to be held on July 20th, 2019, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Platteville Public Library located at 504 Marion Avenue. Naomi, event coordinator. At this time, I will recess the regular meeting again at 7:35, open the public hearing at 7:35 with Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor, and also at this time, I ask the board to excuse the town planner so she can go home.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
This public hearing is the first of two for liquor license authority consideration. This one is for the Platteville Library for their event. Actually, I'd like to ask Naomi if she want to come up and kind of summarize what you have going on this Saturday.
Yes, it's coming Saturday. Can you hear me okay? I'm short.
You can pull it
That's
down.
movable.
Yeah, but can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't wanna break it. Okay, so, several months ago, I had a patron ask if we could do a wine and paint, program at my library, and it took me several months, and I couldn't find an instructor. And then it just so happened that our director went to a fundraiser where they had silent auction, and she bid on a paint party. So it's a painting experience for up to 5 adults or 10 kids. So it's an elementary school teacher who, Jessica Baker, who is Platte Valley Elementary's art teacher. And I find it interesting that she needs, it's easier for her to do children than adults, because she can do 10 kids, but only 5 adults. But anyway, so.
Is that because there's wine with the adults?
Well, actually, the wine thing was something that I asked if she would mind if I added. And she was willing to give it a try. So I did not try to negotiate more people. I thought that would be just asking for too much. So this is kind of a trial program for us to see if it works. So we will have 5 adults. The library is providing, well, the teacher is providing all of the paint and instructional materials. The library is providing food and the drinks for the 5 adults, limiting to 2 adults, or not 2 adults, 2 drinks per adult. Of course, they don't have to drink those full drinks. And then we're gonna kind of go from there and see how it works. I actually, we posted on our Facebook and on Nextdoor to let people know that we can't have walk-ins. This is it. But we were open to see if other people were interested. And I actually have more than 20 people interested. So we're gonna see how this goes. If the teacher decides she hates it, we're gonna do paint instruction without wine in the future if she's willing to do it. Or I guess I'll spend another 6 months trying to find another art teacher. And I think it's pretty much it. It will be in the library. It will be after hours, so we won't have any chance of somebody just walking in and swiping somebody's wine or beer. Turns out a lot of people don't like wine, so I'm going to have the specific. I actually took orders so that I have the kind of drinks that people like, small quantities, of course. And I think that's kind of basically it. Anybody have any questions?
How do we make it so that in the future she doesn't have to come back here every time she wants to do something like this?
Unless it's the licensed premises.
No, I'm fine coming back here every time. You're all nice people. It's okay. I don't get to see you all enough. And I absolutely 100% don't mind. You know, if she's willing to do it, maybe we can have a larger group. I guess I should point out too, so the library is paying for their drinks for these guinea pigs. If we do it again, I think it will help you limit the size of the group if I have people pay a flat fee and that fee will pay for the drinks. And of course the food. I don't ever like to serve alcohol without food. So
Sounds good.
Are there any other questions?
If your art teacher is willing to do it again, I have several contacts.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I left my business card with several art teachers and I got no responses. So I am the luckiest event planner in the world. Things tend to fall in my laps if I'm patient enough. But, so it was just a matter of waiting for this one, so.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anything else from your staff? All right, I will close the public hearing at this time at 7:40. And I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve a special event permit for an event to be held on July 20th, 2019 at the Platteville Public Library as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Okay, moving on to the next one. We're getting there. This is the Platte River Liquor License Authority consider special event permit for an event to be held on August 17th, 2019 from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. at the Platteville Community Complex, located at 508 Reynolds Avenue. Troy Rankin, event coordinator. Mr. Rankin?
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor, members of the board. This is the annual beer garden permit for the Harvest Daze for that Saturday, August 17th. Essentially 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Start off after the parade with the horseshoes and mud volleyball. Goes to the afternoon to the evening with the band, and we finish up with the fireworks. So it's start, as you remember, last few years, it'll start over by the horseshoe pits, and then we'll transition, break that tent down, and then it'll be sold out at a concession stand. I'm still working on presenting to the board an application or submittal to license 508 Reynolds for the whole property. So these would go away for that property, but we would control it. You would still decide what's allowable, what's not, through that application process. But for now, we're going to present this for the beer garden for Harvest Daze. And town staff will work at the beer garden.
Any questions? Okay, I will close the public hearing once again at 7:42 p.m. and entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the special event permit for an event to be held on August 17th, 2019 from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. at the Platte River Community Complex located at 508 Reynolds Avenue.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll adjourn the meeting of the Platteville Liquor License Authority and reconvene the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Moving on, state electrical building permit fees. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you. Rocco DeLuca, representatives from Safefield, sent this out. The state electrical requirements are essentially updated every year for the code requirements, and they're automatically implemented in our building code. That's the only section of the building code that's automatic annually every year. And then the fees, not annually, but they do come out on occasion. The fees are in line with the many other communities that use Safefield for inspection services adopt these fees as well. It's pretty nominal overall, but there's fees associated with any kind of building review. So Rocco sent this to me because this wasn't available when we did the code or the building code update. This came out afterwards, so I'm presenting it to the board for approval. This will be implemented in our fee schedule for the building code plan review.
So these are fees added on top of the building permits that residents receive yet, or is this the fees that Safefield charges the town?
It's a pass through.
Increased the fee charge for electrical.
Electrical is a separate review. You can have a building permit, but then electrical is always separate. And sometimes there's building permits that don't have electrical. And sometimes the building permit is just electrical. For example, if you replace your water heater, there's electrical involved with that. Roof permit, it's a one-stop sheet, no electrical involved. So.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, I entertain a motion.
Move to approve the implementation of updated state electrical building permit fees as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving forward, cemetery entrance monument discussion, Mr. Rankin.
Thank you. This past fall, when we were working on the 2019 operating budget, I asked the board, when we were talking about the cemetery fund, to budget funds, which you did $35,000, to add the pillars and the security gate for the entrance to the cemetery. The pillars, the intent was to be a little bigger than the cobblestone that are already up there along the south side of the cemetery, which of course was built many, many years ago. Ever since we started thinking about the Veterans Memorial, and it was completed back in 2017, we've had one car drive in there and crashed. Luckily, it hit a light pole, not that. But we've always had the fear and apprehension that without the ability to lock it up, we may have some vandalism, some graffiti. This past year, the police department found a stolen vehicle up there parked by the water tank. And we can't control what's going to happen day or night. The goal eventually is to improve the entrance, and then you have a quote in front of you. It just came in yesterday from Jim Nelson. You may know him from building the Veterans Memorial. He does pretty top quality work. It'll be mostly concrete and stone, and it won't be the stone like the memorial. It'll be the cobblestone that matches the existing pillars along 32. So you talk to Mike Evans. Mike, when you put the light closest to the entrance in, there's conduit run for electrical. Mike's going to extend that conduit and put it right up to the middle of each pillar. So if the board decides later on to add a light on top of those pillars for the future, they can. But it'll be stubbed out, ready to go. The quote, I said I want a lock, stock, and barrel quote from beginning to end. If you know Jim the way Dave and I know Jim, this is about as detailed as he's going to get. And when we worked on the memorial, we were a little nervous about that, but in the end, he proved himself right. He did a fantastic job. $9,932. He'll use United Ready Mix Concrete. He loves their mud, he says. It's high quality mud out here locally. He has a small crew that he'll work with to do the actual construction. And he has a subcontractor that welds, and they're gonna put together a double 12-foot, right? So it's 24 total, 2 12-foot gates that'll won't be electrical at first. We can add that later, but it's just gonna be a swinging gate that can be fastened when the wind blows. There's one concern that the cemetery won't be 24/7-hour access. I don't know if that's necessary, but as long as there's availability to walk in after hours, which there is, then I think that's a board's decision. But right now, we don't regulate hours of operation at the cemetery.
Whether it'll still be ADA compliant at the point when you're at only pedestrian access, I guess.
We would.
The consideration we need to take it.
Exactly. We would have to add that feature probably at one of the walk-in access. It's probably on the memorial side, and then on the other side of the entrance on the cemetery side. And that won't be too hard to do.
So the funds that we're talking about are restricted to the cemetery cost only, right? So why don't we just, we budgeted $35,000, and this $10,000 for everything with the gate, right? So why not get the price for the electric gate right now? It'll close at closing hours and open at opening hours.
So what they get?
If it's in the budget, if it's in the budget.
It is. We had talked in detail about how this was going to be built when we did the budget, and I wasn't sure if the board wanted to go that far. I wanted to.
I don't know if we are either, but with the budget we have, we're willing to spend we said we were willing to spend $35,000, right?
It was the one thing I want to bring up is there are 2 capital projects we built in the cemetery fund. Usually the cemetery fund is for operations and maintenance. This is 135. We also budgeted 25 for the Platte survey that beside the cemetery. I don't know if that's an accurate number yet or not. So So I would rather not spend the whole 35. You see where I'm going, just in case that survey costs more. And Dave and I have had a meeting with Steve Adair today. He's very close to getting Reynolds done. He said he'll present that to the board next month. So I'm working on one project before I go to another one, so.
You can do them all?
We're trying to pace ourselves a little bit.
Job security.
This won't happen overnight. It'll take some time for Jim to get started, and Mike's already been working with him. And the conduit's already there. I mean, quite honestly, I'd ask the board to approve this tonight, and I can contact Mike to see what it takes to make those gates electrical, and then bring that back to the board on August 6th. If that pleases the board.
Yeah, fine.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Right, entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the construction of new entrance monuments in an amount not to exceed $9,932, subject to an agreement for services with Jim Nelson Masonry to be authored and approved by legal counsel as presented, and authorize the mayor to execute the same.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mary, can I have roll call, please? Thank you.
Harold Leggett,
Aye.
Nick Ralston,
Aye.
Spencer Bradnan,
Aye.
Fred Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Colt Morris.
Yes.
All right. Motion carried. Moving on, utility late fee discussion. Mr. Rankin.
Mary and I talked about this, and as you well know, we transitioned from Cassell to Assist. The way the code is worded, the late fee is to be assessed after the due date. I'll be honest, Platteville has a pretty stringent due date requirement for utility fees. I mean, essentially have 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm gonna turn over to Mary, but I'm gonna mention myself, for example. I never pay by the due date. I pay before shut off. Okay? Because I want my wife now. But, you know, it's budget building, and I always pay the utility bill for the town, my second paycheck, and it always falls in that red letter zone, which I never freak out because I work here. You have to remind me sometimes. But, Charlotte and Mary and I were talking about it, and it was just discussed. I mean, can we just amend it to where it's a late fee if you actually get shut off, which makes a lot more sense than if you're late for 1 week between the 3rd and the 4th Tuesday of the month. Mary, do you want to add anything to that?
The way that it's written in the code right now, it's $10 plus a percentage of any balance over $100. And that's a complicated calculation. Our software can do one or the other. You can't do both.
I mean, you can do the calculation, the computer just don't.
Yeah, it's not that it's that complicated, it's just the timing and the number of accounts. So we already assess a $30 fee, 15 to shut off, 15 to turn back on. A week later, we give people 6 extra days. And then still apply the late fee on top of that. That's kind of a double slap. So I don't know if you want to reconsider, if you want to do just a percentage, if you want to do just a dollar amount, if you want to increase the turn on and turn off and call it good, and just eliminate the late fee altogether, whatever seems the most
Well, what's easier for you guys in the
transparent.
office?
Well, it doesn't matter to us, we can collect money at any time. But when people only have 2 weeks to pay to begin with, and the late fee on the news statement, is printed out, and because people don't read, we're getting a lot of payments for the late fee already. If even though they're not late. So then they won't understand why they have a $2 or $3 carryover balance on their next statement. So people are confused by the whole thing, and we knew that they would be, not just the late fee, but the whole changeover. Because everything's different. Nobody likes different here.
I'd like to suggest that the turn off and turn back on fee would be sufficient if the bill was late. It eliminates the percentage, the dollar, I mean, it's actually quid pro quo for a service that the town, quote unquote, is providing in shutting the water off and turning it back on. But that's all as a consequence of the bill not being paid on time.
Well,
So
and the
it helps
assessment,
recover the cost of going out to the meter, turning it off, and it back on. But
The
it's
assessment's
only
been kind of
instigated
arbitrary.
when the bill isn't paid
Mhm.
on time.
And we've worked really hard to get people to pay their bill on time by reinstating the use of door hangers the day before shut off. I believe that the day before shut off this time is gonna be a different situation. Because people still don't understand that their automatic payments are no longer in effect. They don't like that.
Online option right now?
No, there's not a credit card option. There's an automatic payment option that we just received the sign-up sheet for yesterday. So we're working to get that. It's real generic. We want more information to be more compliant and have contact information for the people, because the bank has stated that we need to tell them if any of their information changes, they need to notify us. If it changes, their payments are gonna fail, and if we don't have good contact information, the chances of them notifying us are slim. So we wanna get some more contact information. We have to verify that it is in fact them that's signing up. It's just more stringent. We've been real loose with our restrictions in the
Will there
past.
be a one-time payment option?
Excuse me?
Will there be a one-time electronic payment option in the future?
That is, we've already had 2 people sign up. It's from a bank account, not a credit card. And a lot of people don't want to sign up yet until we get a credit card option in place.
Which we will.
Hopefully, yes. We were told that there was a function in the merchant services account that we have, that will let someone request a link to a site, where they can set up their own. It's to avoid having us in contact with other people's personal information. But when he came with the equipment, suddenly that was not available. So we're looking at other options.
I suggest a moratorium on late fees until some of this
Well,
works its
yeah,
way out.
We've discussed how many people may be late, and that's why the number of door hangers may be significantly higher. We are, however, processing between $10,000 and $15,000 a day in payments. So people are starting to catch on.
We'll also get it out again this week on Everbridge and next door. Ask people to pass the word, so to speak.
And once I have the sign-up form, I'll put that all on the website. I didn't want to update the website and say, no, you can't do this ever again, when we didn't know how long it would take. But now that we have the forms, I meant to get that up today, but that didn't happen. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're not doing payments now, right? The payments for the utility bill.
No, we'll have, the board authorized me to give not a variance, but a handful of times, 5 or 6 times a year, someone will come up with a senior that's not getting social security check on time or whatever the case may be. I will extend those. They're not payment plans, they're just like a week extension until the payment comes in. But that's rare.
So what would you suggest for the increase on the turn on and turn off?
Well, I don't know, Dave, you need to increase it, but what I'm hearing is that there's a combination of penalties that include the turn off, turn back on fee, plus, as you mentioned, a percentage over $100 plus $10 and so on and so forth. I would just suggest to simplify it down to the shut-off fee and turn back on fee, if you will. And because those are flat amounts, simpler for the computer, even though this is really just 5th grade math, but.
I know.
And isn't that
But
basically what we're?
because we don't do math with pencil and eraser and paper anymore.
Yeah.
So,
It's supposed to be assessed once it's late, but
It was never assessed, and I've been
it
very
has
late.
not been
So
assessed
you could say
evenly
we have,
across
but
the
we
board forever.
I guess at the end of the day,
We just wanna.
can the board just delete this from the code and just do $30 on and off fee and be done with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as we increase it, and because we have to have somebody go out, we gotta pay the salary of the person that goes out, turns it on, turns it off. We have to get some kind of compensation for that.
Is the fee
More than
sufficient for that now?
$30
Yeah.
turn on, $25 turn off. What would you
Yeah, 'cause if
suggest?
the late
That's
fees,
what we charge.
if we're not gonna assess any late fees, then they need to,
Then what would you suggest is a fair amount? For all
$50 a
parties.
piece for me, I don't care.
Well, Harold had made a comment, there's, where you work for the water shut off, there's 25 both ways, so it's
Yeah.
50 total.
Yeah.
Our shut off, and David correct me or Mary, our fee has been $30 since I've been here, 15 years.
15 each.
15 each way.
But it's $30, you can't do one
No.
without the other, so.
Previous to that, it was $25 was the total, it was $12.50 each way.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, no.
But even if it was, you
Well,
know,
it takes what, 5 minutes to go out to the property?
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference. Why should we be put in that position to have to turn their water off?
Well, I'm just saying,
Well,
I think the $30 fee is plenty
I don't,
for the,
well, I don't think it's
what has to
fine
be
enough
done.
money, but.
Office has to compile a list has to get turned over to David has to send somebody out,
Yeah,
And we're doing door hanging.
both ways.
yeah, it's a lot of salary. These people make,
We haven't been charging fees.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to hang a door hanger than to do shut-offs though.
Don't
How
get
about
yelled at
$40?
quite as
How
much.
about a $40 round trip?
I'm good with
On and off.
$40.
Are we
I'm good with that.
come to that? Sure.
You guys?
I just say, like, we,
We're
little
going
healthy charge.
change it personally. And we're bringing this up because the system started to charge late fees, which we haven't been charging for as long as I've lived in town, which isn't that long, I know. But I've never been charged a late fee, so now we're gonna start charging it. So because the computer did this, now we're gonna say, oh, we need more money. That doesn't make any sense.
We're 30 days late, so how could you?
Actually, it isn't any different
No, it's
amount of
not.
money, because the previous was at $10 plus.
This hasn't been assessed ever.
well, it has been assessed for the people that have been shut off over the years. It has, just not late.
Sometimes.
Some, I'm not involved enough in that detail to let you know that, but I know it has
It
been
hasn't been
assessed.
being assessed.
Then we start assessing it. If we're giving the break on the late fees, then we need to start assessing it. I'm not sure why we haven't, but we should. I won't go any lower than 40.
So is the misunderstanding about whether or not the late fees have ever been assessed? Certainly they've been assessed somewhere to somebody out of 900 and some odd bills,
I would have to defer.
Somewhere to somebody.
but not consistent.
But not consistently.
See, so people have been getting breaks all along.
But the provision is, correct me if I'm wrong, $10 plus a percentage of the $100 balance or greater. And
The balance is over $100, I believe. So if it's $103, it's like 1.5% of $3.
right, plus if it comes to the shut-off, they've been paying 15 and again 15 to be turned back on. So that if it was late to the point where they had to have it shut off, it cost them $40, 10 plus 15 plus 15 plus whatever percentage over 100. So it's always been $40, whether or not it was enforced
At least 40.
or billed, it was a minimum of 40 in the past. But by going to a simple $20 to turn it off, $20 to turn it back on, it makes your accounting a lot simpler.
And
Does
clean
it
the
not?
code up.
Well,
Isn't that the point of what we're trying to get to?
I think the recommendation I'm making to the board is to simply strike out all the late fees and penalties and increase the turn on, turn off to $40 total.
Okay.
So move. So move.
To what
Aye.
amount?
To $40.
$40.
20 turn on, 20 turn off.
I have a motion. And there's a second.
You,
I have a motion and a second. Mary, roll call please.
Nick Ralston,
Aye.
Spencer Brednan,
no,
Troy Blum,
No.
Larry Clark,
All right,
Hope Morris,
Yes.
Harold Leggett.
aye.
Okay, motion carried, 20 on and 20 off, strike the late fee of flat fee and interest. Moving forward with reports. Chief Dwyer.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. We're just working on National Night Out. That's next month. We're gonna be advertising for that this week. Other than that, we're just rolling along with summer week by week. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have for me.
No, but good job on the tickets.
Thank you. I should say, I mentioned that the number of accidents have lowered and our officers are out on fatality accidents 60 and 85 right now, so I spoke too soon, but we saw those lower this last month, which was excellent. I really, the officers have been really hitting it hard, and I like when I see the results with all that too.
Right.
Just the staff, so thank you.
Anything else for Chief Dwyer?
I want to add one thing. Carl and I talked about this long pending CMAC vehicle.
In 2017.
From 2017, at the last ever front range meeting, we'll have another one coming up, I believe, next month. It's simply a contractual process where they have to basically negate the contract for all these vehicles to the federal government. And then Weld County will get a new contract from the federal government for CMAQ funds to be used for non-vehicle CMAQ projects. And then Weld County then will, with their cost savings, is going to fund our vehicle. And I know Carl has a vehicle that we're kind of babying, so, but it's a waiting game. When I last spoke to Elizabeth Rolford at the last meeting, she mentioned that she felt that by the end of this year, Carl will be able to bid, put a new bed spec sheet out. The Will County Commissioners will then approve, because it goes all through them, all the vehicles. And then the chief can have hopefully a new CMAQ vehicle for 17.21% of the new cost next spring. So just an update on that.
Did the new vehicles actually have to be dual fuel or CNG?
That's still part of the pending contract.
Okay.
If Will County says no, then we'll see.
The Hellcat intersection.
But the thing about Will County is they promote a lot of CNG vehicles. So I don't see them going away from that because they're very energy minded as far as utilizing natural gas as well as gasoline. At least that's my perception.
With that in mind, I think we should strive to use our natural gas vehicles way more with natural gas than we do currently, the ones that we do have.
Okay.
Just to go along with that vein, and obviously it produces less emissions, right? That's why we do it. I know the efficiency isn't as good. Maybe we want to talk about that.
And the repairs are more, aren't they? It reduces the life of your car, your vehicle.
Yeah, and you lose some, just a small amount of speed. So if you need to run, you don't have as many horses, but that's minor. Just a side effect. But.
Usually what we've done over here since we acquired the CNG is we look at what's the most economical, what's the cost of CNG versus unleaded fuel. And then we kind of gone back and forth just to see, consider dual fuel.
Where do you fill up at the natural gas?
The North Station, Fort Lupton. There's a place in Firestone. Where else is there? School
The
district.
school district.
The bus barn over in Gilchrist. That was the first one that went in, I think, there, because they got that grant from Noble for $5 million to buy the CNG buses and put that station in years ago. So,
I think I got 3 buses, right?
it might have been 3, I can't remember. Been too long ago.
It's like 4 years ago.
No, longer than that, maybe.
He's over 50 now.
Anything else for Chief Dwyer? I want to say thank you. I've seen officers pull over and chat with kiddos, and that relationship is really super important.
Sure.
All throughout town. So thank you, and
You're
thank
welcome.
your staff, please. All right. Moving on to David Brand. Mr. Brand, I'm sorry. I've lost my mind tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. I do not have anything to add. I know, call Ripley's. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Brand? It's hot out there. Stay hydrated. I feel bad for
I
the
suppose
group.
you can't do anything about that.
I've tried.
All right, thank you, David. Moving on to our attorney's report. Nothing to add.
And I will mention the board, she was scheduled to attend tonight, something must have come up, but I'll see what happens, make sure she'll be there.
All right, Mr. Rankin.
As you can see, my report focused on mid-year budget review, which is, I always look at the budget, but usually about this time, look at where we're at with our capital projects primarily, where our general fund stands, and as indicated. We're sitting pretty good overall, even with the unanticipated $151,000 expense to buy Lot B. If you look at our financials, you'll see we're at 75% split for the year, 50% of the year. That's why. That's where we took it out of. We didn't have a contingency set up this year. A couple of things I want to add. I spoke with Matt Noteboom. He's the developer who bought West Farm. It's not him, LG Evers bought West Farm. He's our contact. He called today. Want to give you an update that 4 to 6 weeks ago, Melissa and I and Kendra met with him and for the company attorney. He's drafting a revised development agreement for West Farm based upon the conversations with the road, river access, mining revenue, so on and so forth. So that's still pending, but it's coming. What he said is it's on the shelf because all their other active sites are just going gangbusters, as you can imagine. There's trucks all over the road, belly trucks everywhere. And they have a huge site over 1,000 acres just north of Fort Lupton on the other side of the river, which is what Melissa and I toured. David had ask Pat Hill, our consultant on road evaluations, to update the evaluation for Bridge and a Half. I sent that to him here this last month. He mentioned that he is working with a consultant that does pretty much the same thing, and he wants to get a second cost opinion. But he said, we're willing to do the improvements, either interim until we go full scale, or just do the full scale long-term improvements now, and then we'll do a maintenance agreement that they beat the road up during their hauling, they'll have to fix it basically. So that's positive. Mentioned earlier in the planning commission with the chairman when we spoke about the 7-Eleven proposal across the street. Most of you probably heard that. That's going down the road as far as being developed.
Which side?
It's
Across the street.
these two properties here, the Will County Auto Sales and this SSI, this whole half block, and it's a 7-Eleven. These developers basically build 7-Elevens for their corporation, and
Also, the Well County, the auto sales are leaving too. I saw it was up for sale. Did they sell it?
not yet. It's all under.
Oh, under the contract.
It's under contract. They haven't, they're doing the due diligence. They have a time frame typically on these developments where they put under contract with their earnest money down, and then they have a specific time frame where they have to finalize the contract. So that's what they're doing.
So this boulevard would come down? With the plan where it goes,
This big white building right here.
Right.
The whole property would be scraped. So we talked for a couple hours. David, Melissa, and Steve there, so I was the three of them.
Slurpee City.
Slurpee City. That's all they talked about up there. Slurpee City. The building permit came back from State Built for the Evergreen Industrial Site north of Anadarko. I was happy to help Charlene calculate the impact fees for that one. That was nice. I believe they're expected to be built out by December, start leasing that to now or National Oil Well by the first year. And then the last thing is the mayor and I received from DOLA the final contract for our $200,000 for pilot study. And the mayor signed that by DocuSign electronically. And so the money's been secured, but the pilot study hasn't been approved yet by CDPHE, so that's what we're waiting on now. Unless you have anything, nothing new on that one. So we're going. It's just not real fast. No updates from Al Ermer. Last thing before the 4th of July weekend is that he was done with his part with the design and the cost estimates for the Main Street undergrounding, but now his boss had to review everything and let me know.
Luke? Or is there a different boss?
I don't think it's Luke McConnell. I think it's someone else at the Denver office. And I still haven't heard yet. I need to find out from CDOT if they've officially made a region 4 director. I haven't heard anything through the grapevine, but I'm waiting on that to happen before I revisit the Main Street and Vasquez Streets demolitions. That's just on hold. So otherwise, that's all I have. Any questions you may have?
Did you go to Blackhawk yet?
Went to Blackhawk last Thursday. Took 6 seniors up there. Had a good time.
They have a good time. They have a good time there, don't they?
It's pretty up there.
It's pretty. Never been there. I didn't gamble. My wife was only money though. I bought them lunch. Did a good buffet. Yeah, it was a nice little getaway. And I'm working with Jen. Christy has come back as of yesterday, part-time. Her surgery went well. That's all I'll say. But Jen's working with her. Actually, the 3 of us are going to meet tomorrow morning to talk about scheduling and activities. Baseball season's about done, and that will give Jen a little bit of breathing room when there's really not a whole lot going on until the fall sports. But like I said, Jen will report the first meeting of each month from now on. And if you notice, she is not afraid to work. It's not her first full time. She's been like almost 100 hours. She's down there all the time. She'll come in a little late, like about 9, but then she's down there until 9 o'clock at night. So I'm impressed. We're trying to figure out the scoreboard. The west scoreboard stopped working and nobody knows what happened. So all else fails when it comes to power, we call Mike Evans.
We might be called upon next week, because, everybody's going to line cheating, they don't have nothing. I might
The new line
take
cheating?
Andrew, yeah.
I'll go.
Yes, they're going next week.
They're
Next
playing at the drive-in
Tuesday.
later tonight, or this weekend.
You guys are going this weekend?
At the drive-in movie theater. They're doing Lion King and Aladdin. Down at 58th Drive-In. They do.
I wanna go, but we're gonna be losing park.
Anything else for Mr. Rankin? All right.
No, he's up to it.
I don't have anything. I've been swamped with work. Committees. Any updates? Anything from there?
Yeah, I've got some updates. Before I get to that, I wanted to talk something through with you guys maybe. So I went to the Brighton equivalent of Harvest Daze back in June. And something that they did there that I thought was just cool was they had like a face painter for it, and just the town provided a face painting for all the kids. So you didn't have to pay, you just got in line and it was like an airbrush face painter guy, so it was pretty quick. So we have that $5,000 that we're gonna spend on fireworks that we don't have to spend because they're dark fireworks, right? So could we not do something like that? Something for the kids, just for free, like a face paint?
We have a local lady who does face painting to make money. That's her business.
You pay, the town pays the face
Oh, the
painter.
town would pay instead of,
Yeah, so the burden isn't on the family, the town pays for it, so the kids just walk out and get their face painted, there's no fee.
So that's how we did bounce houses years ago. We used to charge, or the vendor would charge for bracelets or tie, and we just took that over and we just paid them a flat piece and the kids could have fun for free.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So it'd be the same concept. Just need to know what somebody would charge.
yeah, especially if we did bulk. Yeah.
Through an age limit.
Are we?
The wrinkles might be in the way.
I used to like you, the wrinkles.
So you had more, you was gonna, more real estate, but.
Yeah, gonna take my extra pay there.
No, we can't find it. No, not at this point.
Yeah, it's too late for a carnival. Like, I tried to reach out to the carnival that came in years ago, just because they had a cancellation, they needed a place, the lights club brought them in. And, what I learned is there's two major carnivals that come out of Texas. One comes through New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, the other one goes through Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska. So I met the owner of the other one years ago because they go to my hometown. My dad used to give us all his kids free tickets and grandkids because he knew them all and stuff like that. They're pretty well booked because Harvest Daze is typically county fair time. And it's really hard to get stuff like that here unless we change Harvest Daze time. I keep trying. They used the one, that little kitty one from last year. I think they went out of business. I can't get a hold of them. That was telemusement, and they were out of Arizona.
The youth committee has some really great ideas this year planned, but for also older kids, so, you know, up to 16. Little and, yeah.
David reminded me real quick that savings we had from the fireworks, we did go ahead and just purchase our cattle guard fencing that we use for the rear guard. We bought that, but we probably, I'm sure, between the fundraising that the mayor did and the golf tournament we have, this is probably the best financially the Harvest Daze fund's been in a long, long time.
Good.
I mean, right now, I think we went into the year with a balance of like 19,000, and we brought another 19,000, 20,000 for fundraising, and the whole event doesn't really cost 20,000, so we're sitting okay.
Really cool to do something cool like that.
What about, have we thought about, doing those drones instead of not this year, but think about doing the drones instead of fireworks? Looking to see how much that
that would cost.
What drones?
The drones they do, it's just like fireworks.
So like the
They do
Super Bowl
designs
halftime
in the
show,
air.
remember that? They did the
I don't watch
drones.
this film.
So it basically designs in the air with drones. You get like 100 drones in the air and there's.
Like an air show with drones.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
And
it
lighted.
almost looks like fireworks.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's what the mountain.
With the LED lights, they can change colors on them,
Yeah.
and do all kinds of stuff. They did it at the Olympics as well.
Oh, we know.
Aspen and Vale and Breck was.
Yeah, I think Aspen canceled theirs, but yeah.
Fires dangerous.
Dogs in town,
Yeah, probably. So we might wanna look at, see if we can look at that, see.
I've never heard of that before.
I've never
Really?
heard of it either.
Oh,
You can find a contact or something.
maybe I'll look and see if I can find
Okay, let me know, I'll look into it.
it. Okay.
So the Parks, Trails and Trees has a couple of things for you guys, updates. So, we got the okay for that money, the quick win grant funding, the 2,500. So we approached, the businesses between the Cracked Egg and the post office, and every business that was approached, it was accepting of the pots. So, we've got 14 pots committed, between the post office to the Cracked Egg. We have, you know, a champagne wine on a beer budget, I guess, when it comes to benches and trash cans. We got Colorado Wired to say we could put a trash can on their corner, and McCormick's Heating and Cooling, the same thing for a trash can. And then we talked about maybe a bench at McCormick's as well, because they have that large kind of terrace area there out front of their place, and then one in front of the Silver Spur and the Cracked Egg as well, so people could go outside and smoke or whatever.
Rather than flower pots.
Both.
Oh.
So it would be a combination.
Okay.
So Silver Spur would get 2 flower pots and a bench, and then the Cracked Egg would get 2 flower pots and a bench as well. But we need to ask for additional funds to finish that.
What do you need?
Approximately $1,000 extra, I would say, and that's to get that's for benches that aren't like throwaway benches. We kind of planned it out where we could get benches that were cheap and we could just replace them when we do the downtown, or we can just get benches now that are good that we can reuse when we do downtown.
Do we have vendors, where did you guys find prices with? Was it any of the vendors that?
Some, and then some was online, so certainly we could probably do better on prices, absolutely.
I have no idea, just there's that too. Don't you, is it that Tyler, David, we both get those emails, the decorations.
You mean the ones that I push delete or go automatically to the trash?
I know, I do too, I'm guilty
Yeah,
of it
those-
as well.
There's a lot of vendors.
I mean, there's a ton of them. Is it Kirby Belt that we got the signs for the senior center, the community center? Is that Kirby Belt, or was that, you know, those are recycled plastic, they're fairly heavy duty, they don't have to be painted. Of course, I'm thinking logistics when you're talking flower pots, and you said you talked to the businesses. I assume that means they're gonna maintain watering them so that town public works isn't having to try and get down there
No,
and do
David's
that.
gonna do it.
For right now, that's the plan.
And then like the trash cans, I mean, all the other trash cans at the cemetery and that, we have picked up part of RSL's contract. So if we're putting them down here, are the businesses committing to take care of those trash cans, or are we gonna be adding those to the list? So those are types of details that will have to be.
I was thinking we could add them to the list of either RSL or the parks, when the parks are trash cans are clean, I guess.
Ourselves here on Tuesdays, and we just add those 4 trash cans to their, when they drive from town hall to Riverview or the case may be.
Yeah,
Start thinking about
it won't be a big deal. It's just they're not on the list. I didn't know when you were talking to the businesses if the businesses were committing to that, or if that was something
We
that.
didn't ask them for that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they wouldn't.
No, and I'm just immediately
Yeah.
going to the logistics side
Oh,
of it,
absolutely.
because I'll get yelled at when the trash can's overflowing, so.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. There's
Well,
that for sure.
one suggestion I have, Mayor, is that there's 5,000 available. I think in the board's budget or the admin budget, we set money aside for, you know, the business appreciation barbecue. So I'm not gonna thumb through it right now, but I think there's 500 or $1,000 there, so maybe you wanna give the PTT committee 35, keep 1,500 for the community engagement event for food and flyers. That could probably work, and I'm sure, because really, when I talked to Kate at CDPHE, she's fine if we spend it on anything that's not alcohol related. So I said burgers and tea and water and lemonade for this community engagement. She said, that's great. Most communities will do it for something structural, like flower pots and whatever. So, but either way's fine.
So the flower pots are going to be the same ones that are at the massage parlor, the whiskey barrel style.
Yeah, kind of western looking.
Yeah, exactly. And the massage parlor is gonna take one more from the town to put on the Main Street side as well. So they brought up a good point, is what's gonna happen next year. I'd like to get some reassurance that the town will be willing to put new flowers in the pots next spring.
So it would be perfect to contact our high school greenhouse to partner with them,
Absolutely.
I think.
I just wanna make sure it's sustainable, this project has
Yeah.
sustainability.
Absolutely, that makes sense.
You guys are good with that? Also, we kind of talked, Troy was at our last committee meeting, and we were talking about pursuing grants for, kind of seems like splash pad and trail to the rivers, like the two main sticking points that, you know, we keep kind of coming back to. So instead of pursuing you know, at CML, they really talked about making a plan, having a rec plan so you can pursue the grants. Troy brought up a good idea. We already kind of have this economic development plan that we're going to be looking for a consultant for. So potentially we can just roll this sort of rec thing into that economic development plan, since it does tie in in a roundabout way. And those two things work okay for you guys?
Yeah, fantastic.
And there's about $1,000 for community events in the Parks Fund.
Fabulous.
But you decided on a date. The businesses were so receptive, I feel like there's some momentum that you really need to pick up on and we need to roll with it. So, should get a date, start, you know, set.
And I was gonna bring up the next meeting, but the RFP for the consultant goes to them this month. The way the schedule works, hire a consultant next month in August, and they would be approved the last meeting in August or the first meeting in September. So the September event timeframe, and I have to spend this money by the end of September for this grant. So I'm open to whatever suggestion you have. If you wanna do a weekend, typically we did the business luncheon on a Wednesday afternoon, which works for some, not others. In the evening, I mean, I'm open to whatever ideas you may have. We kinda kicked around before, but we never really finalized that conversation. So.
That's interesting, yeah.
A lot of people, September, school's already started back up, so I'm not sure all the details of what practices and parents are doing and this and that.
Yeah.
So you have to pick if you're doing evening, I think you get a better turnout, because most people aren't working. And it's cooler in September, it's still hot. But maybe on the weekend, maybe a Wednesday night, Tuesday night, I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas.
I think that makes sense.
Instead of doing maybe that month, instead of doing your two committees, you just roll your committees into that event.
Yep.
And have it down at Lincoln Park, a block from Main Street. So those are just different ideas I'm throwing out there.
I like it. I think the businesses will be pretty receptive.
Yeah, I haven't talked to anybody who doesn't wanna be part of making it look better.
So right now, do you wanna pencil in the 2nd or 4th Tuesday of September, or what do you wanna do?
Yeah, let's pencil in the second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday, and let's confirm next board meeting?
Yeah.
Everybody think about it? And I'll give me plenty of time to advertise it for at least a month. And I'm just thinking, when we hire the consultant, I want that consultant to be there, that's a big enough window to get them on board, which I think it will be, before the engagement, it's called the engagement, community engagement event.
So the consultant will be there and kind of just up to speed a little bit.
Just barely, yeah.
So, that'll be good, cause they kind of have a fresh mind presenting the community input. As far as the pots go, we're trying to move aggressively. I told them we'd try to have them installed in 2 weeks. So, that's,
It's filled with dirt, topsoil and stuff?
yeah. So, can you make that happen? I mean, the Parks, Trails, and Trees Committee is going to fill the pots and plant them. We just need to get the fund, the credit card or whatever it is.
Oh, now they're asking for a credit card.
So you got $3,500. I don't have the money, you didn't give it to me, so.
Yeah,
You take firstborn children,
what we'll do is, let's just take it off my town issue manager's credit card, and then I'll save the receipts, and then I can send out into reimbursement to CDP, you know, just cut me a check when we're done. So why don't we just talk offline when you do that? I'm not gonna give you my card, but you tell me what you wanna order, I'll order it.
Nick, did you have any updates?
No.
No, okay. All right, anything else before the board?
Can I ask for minutes?
Oh, absolutely.
If your committees will submit minutes, we'll put those in the packets so that everybody can see what you're up to.
You didn't receive minutes for our last meeting?
I haven't received minutes ever.
Ever?
I have some early minutes. I'll have to look.
Well,
But
she tries to say the agenda is the minutes. I thought you
Yeah,
talked that through.
well,
Okay.
How are we coming along with the format process? Making a generalized format for all of the
yeah,
committees?
There's no generalized code.
no,
Can we come up with one? Is that a good
Well-
idea? Because if our citizens are reading them, to read 5 different types of minutes,
yeah, they won't understand. That's complicated. It's not, I see where she's going. She doesn't wanna have to add to and create a new agenda each meeting, so it's just like, this is what we've done, and
Yeah.
we'll slip something in.
and they're awesome.
But
I spoke to her last time about that, and it's a combination.
Yeah.
Cause I finally, when I talked to her about it, it's like, well, the first thing listed is the agenda, then the previous meetings, those are used as minutes, even though it looks like an agenda. So it's basically combining the two into
It's
one.
very organized, yes, it's very
But
organized.
it's not government.
But it's not minutes, it doesn't have any votes, it doesn't
Yeah.
have any motions, it doesn't.
Well, we don't,
Well, I know, but that's,
I know we don't do that, we should, I know. but It's pretty informal, you saw it, right? Like,
Yep.
yeah, but especially if you're asking this body of people for money,
Yeah, we wanna know more.
you need to record who thinks that's a good idea and who doesn't.
Make a motion.
Yeah.
Sit right here.
Yeah, right, like half the committee's right there.
Are you paying attention?
It's okay.
Well, I'd say a fourth,
Yeah,
and then, Richard Henson was here, so that's the other
Yes.
fourth.
Yeah.
right?
And then,
Rebecca and Eric,
Yeah.
Penny and, Alicia, or sometimes, that's about it. Yeah, we'll try to do better, I agree, and I wanna move to that, but it's, when you try to make it a formal thing, I feel like we might drive
You lose
people away, or
people.
lose people, we're not gonna get people to be open and honest with each other. So I don't know what the balance to strike there is.
Yeah. But we have to have uniforms.
so going back to your deadline, obviously you want to get this stuff in place by the end of July, 1st of August. If you don't mind, cause of the schedules, send me an email. Tell me the specifics on how many, where, what cost, where I order. And then apply, you know, to me, what your ideas for the flowers, the dirt, whatever. You can have them delivered here to Public Works. You can coordinate with your committee on when you want it. Come together, your dirt, your planters, get ready, and then we can haul them downtown with the backhoe, in the bucket, and set them.
Right.
Easy enough?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, David, I just spoke that way.
I knew it was them.
Benny from the Silver Spur asked that we, mount the flower pot. I don't know if that's really, he had one stolen, I guess, for Harvest Daze last year, so he's concerned that it might get
Yeah, they have a tendency to walk off.
So we put like rocks at the bottom, a couple of sizable rocks.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Just makes it a little more.
So there's,
the bottom when I get one, right, a bunch of rock.
there's some place that I saw that did like the whiskey ropes, but they're bigger, cause when they're on Main Street, they're like, I don't know, I can't remember where it was, but I feel like it's one of those, when I used to read them, that we get from, at Tyler Temple, that's what it's called.
I'm
I
not
don't know,
opposed
just
to
throwing it
something,
out there.
I'm not opposed to something bigger that can see more,
But then
we're
if you,
just kinda trying to match the massage parlor looks great, is what they have there.
yeah, they look very nice. Yeah.
I'll send you a link. The weird thing about just getting the dirt from renewable fiber, just get a yard and a half of it.
It's pretty inexpensive. We can, send one of the guys down there in 1 ton, you can scoop and bring it back. It's not gonna take that much dirt.
Especially if you put rocks at the bottom.
Yeah, that's true.
Nice idea of a package of
And then
quick creep.
make sure we put them where you want them, it's not gonna leave to that bottom of the water out, that's gonna wait, so.
Yep.
Okay, just let me know.
Okay, anything else for the board? All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Can I get signatures for some banking documents from almost everybody?
Oh, I did have a question. Can we get the previous year's usage of water back on the water bill? That's really important.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
have a leak or something, you need to know when you're like,
Yeah.
Not until we have a year's worth of data in the system.
Until that happens.
Last week. All your new data started last month.
I like that too. That's one thing I missed, but I got it.
What?